My name is Teresa Blackwood. I reside in Vineland, New Jersey, and I am actually talking about a persecution, being persecuted by the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. And yes, I go off on them and basically say a lot of harsh things against their vile, evil, lawless, immoral degeneracy. So, it's all true. So, yeah, me speaking against their heinous crimes. Yeah, I'm allowed to speak against their heinous crimes. So I'm told that I'm not allowed to speak against their heinous crimes, even if it's true. This is their mental degeneracy. Okay, they have all kinds of rules why I'm not allowed to basically report crime. Well, because it's them committing the crimes. So anyway, being continuously slandered by the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department and their chaplains of mainly Vineland Nazarene Rhema Church, Calvary Chapel, so-called Faith Bible Church. They're not a faith and they're not biblically correct, so or spiritually correct. So the thing is, none of them. The thing is, they committed hate crimes against me in collusion together for many years, over 15 years. So, yes, condemning me for my religious insight, basically meaning my insight of true knowledge and laws of justice. So the thing is that yeah, there's this false slander of me, as I had a dispatcher ask me a manipulation. They're playing on words and they're manipulating. Okay, they do nothing that is honest, of integrity, even though they'll sit there and quote integrity or whatever, as a slander, mentally abuse me. Okay, they claim me speaking against their vulgar evil is uh harassment, by the way, for reporting their crime and speaking against their crime, as I'm reporting their harassment. So it's continual deception. They are lawless, immoral degenerates, and this is why they have this ill-mannered, ill behavior, severe behavior problems. So, anyway, I had this dispatcher, Santiago, who basically I have tried to be nice to, but he keeps like manipulating and deceiving in this nice little tone or what have you. And the thing is that he asked me, "Why do you hate cops?" First of all, it's a play on things or whatever, because they're doing this whole play and manipulation on asking questions. Like they like to manipulate and deceive, ask questions, and it be a false accusations. Okay, a false accusation. While I ask questions is simply asking a question. Like I don't ever deceive or manipulate even my enemies in my conversation. I will not ever do that. Okay. And I do expose it. That's why they have a severe problem with me. They hate me because, well, I'm of the truth and I bear witness to the truth and I'm insightful, okay, and discerning. So the thing I basically was abused like that before by police officers because I basically, um, well, spoke against their abuse and crimes they committed against me. And the thing is, they're like, "Oh, well, you hate cops." It's a deception. It's like a left wing democratic degeneracy. It's kind of like when they sit there and if that person speaks against, if that race speaks against that race, or that race speaks against that race, or whatever the case may be, there's an extreme high racism against all of them. Okay, so of course there's people sitting there saying, "Oh, only white people can be racist." That is not true at all. So I do have in the Vineland Police Department the same democratic tactic where the white racist, actually, who has a lot of white victims, who are using like racists of other nationalities, that they're using them as a weapon to basically attack their white victims. So this is basically what the Democrats practice, where you have you racists basically using racists to attack like Republicans, okay, Republicans, so to say, or anybody who basically, in some areas claim to believe in God or claim to be religious or what have you. This is a dark principality. Excuse me, I have like a nose itch. I should have went off video and did that. So I have these little tiny little fiber hairs that keep hitting my face that just like, and hair is like when it's in a frizzy state and it's bothering. Anyway, so the thing is that yeah, I guess I got another one. Hold on. Um, the thing is that okay, where was I at? Yeah, so this is a deception tactic that is played, and so the thing is I mean I've had that type of abuse by racist cops or whatever who basically is racially profiling me, okay, for being white, and they use a scapegoating tactic that I've spoken against for years and exposed, and we see it all over the place, and the Democratic left-wing Democrat. I'm not saying the other party who claims to be our party. It's not really Republican isn't really a party. It's just government. But the people who basically claim to be like opposition to like the left wing or the Democrat, seriously, they're actually really no different. Like there's the same corruption and manipulation tactics, unjust, unlawful, okay, practices by them like on both sides. So they deceive the same way. Evil is evil. Okay. So you know anyway, so the thing is that, and two people said there, oh, it's not about politics or whatever. Politics isn't everything. All right. And that's right. Your crimes isn't about politics, it's about crime. So it's kind of like these so-called politicians who basically claim their crimes is like of political relation or whatever, and I mean there's so much deception over the play on the word political. It's disturbing. So and they try to use the word and play on the word to control what they want deceptively. So when they sit there, it's not about politics or whatever, and it's just like, what is that supposed to mean? Oh, it's supposed to be about this, and they're trying to divide it up. It's like a deception play that has been going on for generations and generations and generations. I mean, it is just unbelievable on the power play on words and how they use it to just take away its meaning and just use it for stigma and stigmatize a word and then just use it to control whatever they want. It's disturbing. So, I have found the trace of that throughout history in writings when I seen a lot of like principles. I'm not talking about dark principles. There's like principles of just law where there's the dark principles of obscure deception. Okay, that it tries to play and divide up words for control. That's when I got into my research in regards to around I was like 20 years old in regards to in relations to like like realism and ideologies and they try to divide up these words all about, and it was all about control. It has nothing to do with the meaning of anything. It was unbelievable. So my relation to like times of different eras or whatever. Era, I said errors. It is error. Eras. Era. Well, an era is kind of off. Um, um, I said that word a little off, but I don't know. I have different views of basically era. Era is basically a massive a time or whatever. But okay, anyway, not getting into that. But the thing is that so yeah, I've heard like police. I was actually going to do a video about like politics, and I can't decide which one I want to do. But anyway, so I'm gonna yeah, that's been used on me. I'm just going to say this real quick. That's been used on me in regards to the play on the word politics or whatever to actually attack me when they're not even saying anything about politics or whatever. But I'm actually going to do a video about that. And so as they're not even speaking politics, they're just like speaking deception and just using the word politics or political as like some deceptive, acting like they're pretending they know what they're talking about when they don't know what they're talking about. So, the thing is that, anyway, the police department are harassing me, all right, and, they're basically going on a half story or what have you, and they've been harassing me for 20 years, and claiming that I'm not allowed to call the police department, by the way. Yes, I am. All my complaints and calls are legitimate, and I have to keep calling back because they keep hanging up on me. I'm being discriminated against because I'm an intellectual woman, so they actually use their degenerate, foul, women who are corrupted, to harass me, by the way. They're very, very disgusting. So the thing is, anyway, so their whole thing is that, so anyway, this dispatcher asked me the other day, oh, why do you hate cops so much? I said, excuse me. I said, first of all, I do not hate cops. I said they're corrupt cops. I said, I have never, and I'm saying this, I have never, ever, 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 ever spoken against law enforcement or laws of justice. I said, the problem is that you have and you are an enemy of law enforcement. I said, me speaking against crime, of police committing crimes against me, is them hating law enforcement, not me. I said, I'm speaking against your crimes. So give or take a word, but the exact same principle or whatever. And so I said, so that's a false accusation. First of all, I hate cops. No, I don't hate cops. I hate criminals who are a cop uniform who do not belong there. And the little fantasy statement that, that they tried to use in the past is sitting there saying there's only 1% of that are not fit to fit, that are not fit to wear that uniform. Actually, that is not true. But the thing is that even in that 1% out of, I think there's like 90,000 police across the country, well, give or take or whatever, last, concrete statistics of the numbering of how many police officers there are. So, the thing is, yes, they're trying to grow the number actually. And the problem is not even basically how many police there are, it's how many, good cops who have the right motive, versus that of bad cops. Okay. So, of course, yes, I understand with all the media or whatever, a lot of people are claiming that, oh, because that officer did this or this or this, the police are corrupt or whatever. Um, there is a lot of corruption in the police departments. Okay. That's the bottom line. The thing is that this whole lie about me being a cop hater is a lie. First of all, um, I hate criminals. All right, and there are a lot of criminal cops, and I'm not even. This is not the same as basically when a cop has to shoot like a criminal that's coming at them with like a knife that is basically fatal and life threatening, and they have to shoot them or whatever the case may be. Um, like the last shooting. Well, there could have been one after that or whatever. I haven't updated the news, so this is almost like, on a regular basis. But, like, Wallace, I don't believe the protest is legitimate. I believe the shooting is legitimate. And so the thing is that, see, I want to speak about that issue also. I mean, I did write it on my police page. That is against cop corruption, by the way. And yes, in support of laws of justice. Okay. So, I only could sit there and justify a cop, but I could justify a cop. And I do not take sides, by the way. Excuse me. On the person, their position, their race, or anything like that. I basically look at the principles, what's at play, and what happened and what they do. Okay. So, excuse me. The whole thing that, the lie, falsely claiming that I hate cops is just a left-wing deception, as I'm basically being attacked mainly by the deception of, liberal Democrats and those who are claiming to be like Republicans and Christians. There's not one Christian Nirvana Police Department, by the way. There's a lot of corrupt ones who basically falsely claim they are. So, the thing is that, yeah, they have a whole lot of, disturbing how they have a whole lot of rules against my rights, against, Christianity, against the Constitution, to refuse my rights and basically justify how they're like, well, gaslighting me, mind raping me, deceiving me. Well, I'm not deceived by them, trying to deceive me, manipulating and doing all these things, obstructing justice, whatever the case may be. And I'm just gonna let you know, I have encountered probably over 50 police officers, throughout the years, who were used to retaliate against me because of my intelligence, concerning laws, justice, government, and even basically exposing government corruption and cult abuse, churches or whatever, which basically exposes all of them. So they basically have persecuted me, committing hate crimes against me. So the thing is, because of my religion, what is my religion? Anything that is true, just, and right and lawful, um, was true knowledge. So, yeah, so the thing yeah, so the thing yeah, that's a lie, and it's being said by mainly, corrupt, false, dirty cops who belong in prison, by the way, that are in the Vineland, New Jersey Police Department. And what they do is when I sit there and speak against their evil and their heinous hate crimes or whatever, they make up a lie against me and slander me, and they make every desperate effort to sit there and try to silence me and make sure I'm basically just, retaliated against everybody, and everybody commits these crimes against me, which actually just exposes all of them, okay, that I have encountered. So, I was just hung up on, by the way, by, Pagnini, okay, in the middle of making my complaint, okay, and I have actually been hung up on, and I basically spoke to them, um, respectably, and that was another play on words by the dispatcher Santiago or what have you. It was really strange because when I was going off on him, yes, disrespecting him because he was disrespecting me, he basically, because I didn't say it how I said it before, or whatever motive he had to sit there and say that, he's just like, well, thank you for speaking respectably to me, this time or whatever. Now, the thing is, we've had nicer interactions and conversation that was respectable many times, in the past. So, and it would, just do your job, and I thanked them or whatever. They just did their job, transferred me, gave me options and all these other things or whatever. And it went smoothly and well, but then here or there, he will sit there and lie, manipulate, and deceive or whatever, and I go off on him. So the thing it, there is deception play in some of the things being nice in tone or what have you. So, I mean, I've had to actually correct his illogical thinking and actually exposed him, speaking against himself, because I did that, and did that with the Lieutenant Landy, reporting all them, and while reporting Lieutenant Landy also, they had this, game, this little sick, unjust, unlawful, sick little, mental and unstable game that they play or whatever, because I expose them speaking against himself, they will sit there and get somebody else to falsely accuse me, which never even occurred and cannot be found in any principle that I've used or what have you. So, they're really disturbing what they do. So, I am being harassed by Lieutenant Landy, which I basically, yes, will go off on him and basically, well, caught him sharply, deep, yes, with the truth of my, the truth of my words. I'm gonna sit there and say, trying to use some other, dialect or whatever, but, with my words against their evil, okay? So the thing is that, yeah, so the thing it's okay if you didn't understand all that, because in relation to how I'm expressing it, and I obtained basically the experience of it. I'm not speaking at the whole experience of the situation. So if you don't see the whole picture of that, that's fine. So it's hard to express what people experience and put all those things in the words. But But their basic principles, it's just like unbelievable what they do. So anyway, Santiago, there's a lot of racists, by the way, among police, actually on all parties. But there are particularly racists who basically are racist against white people that are banning, particularly to basically persecute me, refuse my rights simply because they are racist. Okay, but the thing is I actually was attacked and persecuted by other means, as they committed hate crimes. The Vineland Police committed hate crimes against me, because I am religious. Okay, and it's sort of like, okay, the atheists and those who are falsely claiming to be Christian and are anti-theist atheists also have persecuted me, committing hate crimes against me because of my religious insight and knowledge. The thing is that it actually is against their lawlessness. So the thing is because I don't believe in the churches, and yes, I rightly identify myself as a true Christian. And backing that up is basically me speaking by the truth against their evil. Okay, which they hate. So the thing is, I am being persecuted and slandered, and crimes committed against me by the churchians who are falsely claiming to be Christian, who are basically obstructing justice, which exposes that they're not Christian. Are obstructing justice and refusing my rights, and shunning me. Well, because I won't believe in the evil churches and their false ways and their false doctrines, which actually corrupting the Vineland Police Department, well, departments all across society. A lot of people are responding by the false ideologies of the delusions in their churches that is actually against Christianity. Christianity is anything that is just, true, and of the laws of justice, by the way. Okay, so the thing is yes, and these false Christians, especially the fraudulent Pentecostals, in the Vineland Police Department, who are persecuting me and committed hate crimes against me, even had me arrested and falsely charged for actually speaking against their abuses, slandered me, and then claimed that the law does not apply to them, and that they basically um anything that they do is right, as they committed crimes against me, committed perjury against me, and made false records on me, which is perjury, libel, slander, and flip things backwards, which they often scapegoat. So anyway, the thing is, back to basically the question of the slander of why do you hate cops so much? First of all, I don't hate cops because they're cops. I don't hate anybody because of being a person of a field or a profession, unless that profession represents that of which is unlawful, unjust, or corrupt. For example, um, I hate the gang MS-13. I can sit there and say that. Okay? Now, they try to play on this thing in the past and sit there and like, oh, you're not allowed to speak against groups. That's the deception of the evil false churches, by the way. Trying to make that actually a law, and trying to actually put that on like Facebook, and that was the Vineland Police Department trying to collude with Facebook to actually ban people who spoke against groups, which is unconstitutional, unlawful, and unchristian. And that was the Vineland Police and their chaplains. And as they made these false, unconstitutional, unchristian, false rules, they actually spoke against Jesus, because Jesus spoke against groups such as Pharisees. That was my defense, by the way. I'm like, go ahead, keep doing it, because all you do is make rules against Jesus Christ every time you want something and basically want to hide your little dirty secrets. Okay? So the thing is that yeah, they made every effort to collude and corrupt Facebook. Now, okay, there's corruption in Facebook. It's controlled by like different parties, different like cults, and what they want, or whatever the case may be, to try to. It's not only the owners of Facebook. They are actually, that's what a lot of people want to portray and believe, but the reality is basically corrupt police, corrupt governing officials, using corrupt lawyers, bringing like these suits or these claims or these complaints and things like that, and manipulating, abusing power of law to try to control socializing, right into people, to keep people censored. Everybody wants to sit there and say, well, Facebook and Zuckerberg. I'm not saying it's not of them. There's corruption. There's their own ideologies, even though they're deceived by governing, trying to sit there and tell them that it's going to make things better or whatever. They're trying to silence the public from basically corrupt governing officials from being exposed. Okay, so the Vineland Police are very, very involved in basically trying to do that. They did that around the murder of Philip White. Okay, um, and basically around me trying to actually silence me, colluding with Facebook and trying to control and create all these controls or whatever to make sure that I do not bring the evidence and proof um, of that of for that case or a lot of things. And they're still trying to control Facebook, by the way. So the thing is that they what they're doing is going around and trying to claim, oh, for the safety, and they exploiting the children. Now, I'm not against. I know there's a big problem with people exploiting children or people trying to get at children like predators and things like that, and deceiving people, manipulation and scams. We're on a social. There's people all across the country or international I'm sorry, and internationally who basically use Facebook. So that what's going to be in Facebook is the people and what is of the people. Okay, so they want to control the party and the half of, silence the people and give who's ever in the offices, okay, of governing officials actually control whatever they want, claiming whatever they want is right, by the way. So anyway, the thing is yeah, and basically Zuckerberg is like a pawn, puppet, and like I said, the deception that they use is basically peace and safety and and family oriented, and the police like Vineland Police have basically used that as a manipulation tactic. They're not interested in children, they're predators of children. Okay, but they try to use children to sit there and make themselves look good and look to use that as a deception to control and silence the people, and who, especially if those who basically are exposing corruption and governing places. Okay, so I have all these things in my mind. I know I was just basically going to answer the question of why do you hate cops so much, which is a lie. I don't hate cops. I hate people who are criminals, who basically the Vineland Police Department committed heinous hate crimes against me for years and used over 50 officers, a lot of them being lied to and deceived, okay? And they have made many, many, many false slanders records on me, false charges. A lot of them I didn't even hear about. To sit there and create this long false record, and I'm not even a criminal. So, the thing is they use that to basically get police to abuse me. Then they use my responses, basically me going off on them, tell the half of the story, okay, and use that. Oh, and it's just there and says, oh, she's just calling up your cousin. No, first of all, I call up, they gaslight me, they hang up on me, they mentally abuse me, they falsely accuse me, they refuse me to make the reports of police harassing me, committing crimes against me, and all these things or whatever. And then when I'm sitting there and I'm transferred to bogus lines, outside lines, all these things or whatever by dispatcher and the corrupt police officers at the desk, which they put corrupt, evil officers at the desk with severe mental disturbances and mental problems, to basically hang up on me or whatever, and they get them to say all these ignorant things to me or whatever. If I go off on them, oh, that's my fault. So this is what they're doing. The thing is I'm not against the cops. I'm not against the law enforcement. I am against a terrorist group. Okay, and this is what I basically told the dispatcher Santiago. I'm like, I'm against a terrorist group who destroyed my family and basically have been persecuting me for almost 20 years. I think split that in basically conversation between one and another person. So, because I was basically put that in my complaint that day, the other day. It might have been yesterday. No, that was yesterday, the day before. My sleep schedule is a little off, so I get offset like on a half a day, which throws me into the next day. So, the thing is, yeah, that's a full-faced lie. I only judge people by the individual people they are, um, practicing and what they're doing and the crimes they are committing against me. I may relate that to my experience that is the same if they do the same thing. I use the same exact principle to compare it. Okay, which exposes basically the mentality of a majority of the people and how corrupt it is by the same type of false ideologies that drive them to basically respond in these corrupt claims, behaviors, and the things that they say. That, yes, and I've compared it that it is rightly that of echoing of deception of churchian pedophiles to avoid and ignore and make sure the victim is not hurt. So the thing is yes, I am against corrupt people, evil people. Yes, I am. I was told not allowed to say that either by Vineland Police and their chaplains. Oh yes, I am. So I sit there and try to control my words or whatever to make sure they are not exposed as the evil people that they are. So I have to get something to drink. Excuse me. Okay, I thought it was getting really dry. All right. So, yeah. So that was a false accusation and slander to make sure I am not heard. That was actually used by police. Um, and the ones who basically retaliating and persecuting me and slandering me of Officer Anthony Ramos and Jeannie Ramos as they use their wife, the land manager of the area that I live in or whatever, and who is very, very degenerate, grotesque. She is a prostitute and a drug addict, by the way. Um, excuse me. Very, 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 her mind, God gave her up to a debased mind. She was an atheist, cyberbullying me online and on my page, making up all these lies and slanders about me. As police were using her to basically make false reports against me, as she actually harassed and bullied me, falsely claiming that I hate cops or whatever, flipping things backwards as she was committing crimes against me, in retaliation because she's told you to because of she's foul. Okay, she's not even human. So she tried to basically make a false complaint against me, slandering me, telling a whole half the story and actually scapegoating me, falsely accusing me. She's terrorizing the neighborhood and terrorizing me. She flips it backwards, making a false complaint against me, and sit there and said I was terrorizing the neighborhood, which I never did any such thing. They had actually people harass me, bully me, threaten me. Okay, she goes around sitting there telling people not to talk to me, falsely accusing me of being racist when I am not racist, and they're doing this because, like I said before, the racist in the Vineland Police Department, which she is a racist, by the way. The whole neighborhood knows it, and it's not even about what was circulated as some false rumor or whatever. I'm not against rumors, by the way, nothing wrong with a rumor. I watch the news. So rumor is just basically information that is basically um, told to people. Sort of like okay, I gotta do the video about that because I actually wanted to do a video about how they use the word rumor to deceive people, kind of like the no gossiping rule to basically silence victims and silence their corruption. So the thing is that um she uses the same tactic, sitting there claiming I'm a cop hater, And then she went around, and my daughter's Puerto Rican, by the way. So they're attacking me for being racist, and the racists in the Vineland Police Department that uses them basically going around, and she was basically going around and falsely telling other police officers who are actually already racist, but falsely claiming and telling other officers and falsely accusing me of being racist. They did not know that I had a Puerto Rican daughter. I'm talking about this particular manager. Some knew and basically targeted my children and committed hate crimes against me because I'm white with a Puerto Rican daughter. So, I wouldn't touch a white man, sorry, but, oh, by the way, they made me and forced my family to keep me in captivity, to my rapist, mocking me, using forged, false, evil, Bibles, sitting there claiming that I have to marry my rapist. And I'm not to separate from my rapist. This is what what they said. Well, I didn't listen to them, but they manipulated the situation and everything around me to make sure I'm in prison to my rapist and nobody hears me. Because I'm a prime witness against child sexual abuse or whatever, which they all defended and basically said that everything they do is of God's will. This is what they did. They're sick, vile beings. First of all, profane thing that practices evil is basically an enemy against God, by the way, an enemy against Christianity, an enemy against Christ. Because Christ and Christianity is anything against evil. And what depicts on of what you do, what you believe, and what you do is what depicts as a Christian. As these atheists, as many of these people falsely claiming to be Christian, atheists, and the claimed atheists basically uses the churches to basically persecute me for 15 years, destroy my family. They all use each other because they're all evil and they know each other is evil. And they sit there and exalt themselves and support themselves as basically all being right and authoritative, which is not true. The only thing that is authoritative is the truth. What is just, right, and true. So, the thing is that, yeah, these people have a mentality of the savagery of the Dark Ages. With their perversion of false knowledge and just grotesque. I'm just simply tired, really. I'm tired of it all. But the thing is that to sit there and say I hate cops. I don't hate somebody for being a cop. A cop in itself is not a wrong or a sin. I hate cops who are criminal. So that is basically a false accusation. For many, 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 many years, I have basically made cases in defending cops that were justified by principle, by original insight, not influences of others in any way, shape, or form. And the thing is, I'm basically called a cop hater online by many of the degenerates who basically even support the crimes of police, who basically, when the police commits a crime against somebody and the person who the cop committed crime against was justified by principle, um, um, by what happened. See, this is what I do. I judge the circumstance and the principles of law to make my decisions. That's what I do. Not rather one is a cop, even if somebody was a cop hater. Okay? And I will not allow people speaking against hate crime against cops on my page. Or speak against law enforcement. You can speak against corruption of police. You can speak against, their unlawfulness. But nobody is allowed to basically commit a hate crime of basically attacking a police officer just because they're a police officer. It angers me, and I ban them from my page. So this a false accusation by the dirty dispatcher, who actually is a false claim and circulated through the corrupt, damnable cops. Like, first of all, if a cop is threatening an innocent life and somebody else shoots them, I am not against that person who shoots them to save the person's life. There's a lot of corrupt police who don't think that people should have that right. I believe that everybody is equal under the law and that people actually have a right. If a cop has a right to shoot an innocent, I'm sorry, they don't have a right. If they think they have a right to sit there and just shoot whoever they want and get away with it and do whatever, and if they endanger somebody's life, okay, and their life is at threat, I actually really believe that somebody has a right to basically shoot that cop. I believe that they should have the same right as the cop should have. If the cop is in danger by a criminal threat against them, that the cop has a right to shoot that person. Now, there has to be, I understand that there's a little imbalance, that there has to be some sort of control. And it's really scary thought, and there's so many corrupt police that you have to put the security and the weightier half on police sometimes because of the corruption and mentality of the people, where there is a little imbalance. And that's only, that imbalance comes only because of the balance basically that is happening in society. Okay? So there's like, though I believe that, okay, if a police basically threatens to shoot somebody's life in a criminal manner, that they ought to be able to shoot them. And it's just like, okay, well, there's this defense where it's just like, well, they had a gun, so they shot him. First of all, people are allowed to have guns. So there's actually a really shaky point at that time, as in, if somebody has a gun and they're threatened or whatever and things like that, or they reach for their weapon, okay, in relation to a cop, this whole thing about, oh, well, they had a gun or they had a weapon. So some people are to have a weapon, but why is that used against certain people who has a weapon? Yes, and basically that of color. The reality is that there is a lot of people of one group, okay, that is more threatening to cops of having a weapon, and there's more of one group than the other that illegally has a weapon. And that's a whole other discussion that I have to go into more detail about or whatever. But the thing is, it's just that, who's to say, in regards to, so if they pull out a weapon, a police officer is allowed to shoot them. I agree with that. So what if police are so equal under the law? So what if the police officer pulls out a weapon? Are they allowed to pull out a weapon and shoot them? I've meditated on these things, like, so many times. It's just like unbelievable. And in some points, by principle and law, yes, but the thing is, because of the oppression, and the thing is, yeah, it's all about questioning and interacting with that person. And what is going on? You can't always sit there and ask somebody, oh, do you have a license for that? I mean, there are some cases where they do, no matter what. But when they reach for a gun, it's just like, okay, how come police are allowed to sit there and pull out their weapon for a safety defense if they feel threatened? And why aren't the people allowed to just pull out their weapon for a safety defense? Like, that's really something questionable, where you have to put, in regards to security defense, that in certain at certain times where the law has to be more weightier on the police officer to be allowed to do some things, especially when they encounter somebody who may be that of, a potential, like, criminal, to be, examined, make sure it's okay, whatever the case may be. Maybe there was a call or whatever the case may be, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of issues and discussions that needs to be discussed on that, but it's just like, because I really, really believe that everybody's equal under the law. And people, it's just not practiced that way, obviously. Especially, these churches, they get away with anything, evil or whatever. It's really, really disturbing. But you know, um, I think I have to do a shorter video, because I'm getting into so many principles, or whatever, and I just want to do a video in regards to the question of the false accusations. Now, the thing is they try to play when I was basically, I'm just going to say this, they try to play because I asked them a question, and basically it was more for, um, not a literal question, but basically a literal, uh, exposure how monstrous, how, monstrous the Vineland Police are in regards to them attacking my children or whatever, and comparing them to basically, well, kidnappers and baby killers or whatever, which is, yes, is what I call them. In regards to my encounter and experience with them. So I'm going to do a shorter video, by the way, in regards to law enforcement, but I'm going to say this, I'll probably repeat myself in the other video, is, not all police are law enforcement officers, and I'm only judging by what they have done to me as a person, as a person. How they encounter me, that's the only thing I'm basically coming against. To sit there and try to use the whole cop thing, is basically somebody playing the race card. So you want to sit there and play the cop card. Yeah, it's not about basically you being police officer, but there's a lot of corrupt police officers who's using power of uniform and title and stigma of law to abuse power, and it can be very, very dangerous. As dangerous as basically, well, the Nazis, who were basically, well, corrupted police. So I'm going to end with that, and I'm going to talk more. I'm going to do another video.